Okay, now time for some clamps. So side lying external rotation and some internal rotation and adduction. So we're looking for a tight waistline. Your knees are bent, your heels are right in line with your rear. So that's how I check. I just lift the heels and check that they're down there. And you've got your head supported because I don't like it propped. I want your spine nice and long. So make sure the knees are stacked, heels are stacked, the heels stay together, and we're just opening and closing the knee. The hip stays perfectly stable. I'm going to time this, so I'll get the timer going. You're only going as wide as you can keep your hips stable. Once you rock back, so maybe having a wall behind you as a cue or a couch or a chair, then you've gone too far. So we want this rotation. Imagine the ball and socket joint of the hip. Want this rotation to happen from within the hip socket, not from the pelvis moving. So you might be tight in your hip. Just note how far you go. You can always peel the toes off, keeping the heels together so that you can go get a little more range of motion. But I want you to feel this outer hip. And just gauge where you are this first round. Ideally, it gets a little farther after we do some internal rotation. Okay, so now we keep the knees together and we're going to rotate the femur, the upper leg, to elevate the knee, or the heel, I'm sorry. The knees stay together this time. So this is the internal rotation. A lot of people don't feel anything at first, and that's fine. I don't want you to just lift the heel. I want you to rotate the upper leg, like you could grab the meat of your hamstring and turn it inward towards the floor. So rotate that upper leg. And the goal is to feel a nice, strange sensation. This one I like to let the foot touch down because it's such a strange motion. We're trying to, in essence, lengthen the piriformis a little bit, which is deep in the hip, and I'm sure everybody's heard a lot about piriformis. And you essentially go until you feel just a strange, wow, I feel something interesting in there. That's what I usually hear from clients. It's like, that feels strange. I don't know how to describe that. Kind of a lengthening of a deep muscle. And I just start to kick in with me. I don't know about you, but I'm starting to feel that kick in here. So that lengthening, just an odd feeling. And again, coming from the hip, we're rotating within the hip. Now internally with the femur, even though it's elevating the heel, it's internal. You can put a block between your knees if that facilitates, but I do want the knee rested so you can focus more on the internal rotation. Okay, I've got a nice feeling. And then just to balance that out, put a pillow or a ball between the knees and we're just going to squeeze down. Now the bottom knee wants to push up and I want you to just squeeze down with the top leg. We're going to work that adductor just gently. It's not a super strong sensation, but it's just a balancer from the internal, external. Feel this inner thigh, just gently hug to bring that right knee down towards the bottom knee. And try not to push from the bottom leg. Oh, it's hard. Okay, not too many of those, that's not the main focus. All right, so now let's try our second round. Are you able to open higher? Because I am. Because we lengthened that piriformis just a little bit. We did some internal rotation. So interesting thing about sciatica, for example, sciatica is a symptom. The cause takes a lot more work to figure out, and typically MRI. So sciatica, of course, that sciatic nerve runs down the back outside of the leg, goes down through the ankle. People will have pain. Oh, it goes down, shoots down my leg, shoots into my shin, into my ankle. But what causes it? Well, it could be many things. But just know that if it is because of a tight piriformis, or because of a piriformis, I've learned recently that the piriformis could be really tight. If it's tight, it pushes on the sciatic nerve. But also if it's overstretched or loose, it also pushes on the sciatic nerve. So isn't that something? I want you to hold at the top here and open. So that's why the point is it's important to work internal and external rotation. We don't always know exactly what's going on in the musculature, and we need balance anyway. We have internal rotators and external rotators. So note, as we're pulsing open, we should feel a nice burn in that outer hip, and we're trying to keep the hip stacked the whole time, not moving in the waistline, not moving in the back, just engaging, and slow it down as it gets harder and just focus on that out, open, and release, and internal. Back to the internal. Just doing 2 rounds this time. I always say do at least 2 rounds so you can feel the difference. But welcome to do 3 or more. Again, this one, not as strong of a sensation for sure, but certainly creating some benefit. We're trying to think of the muscles deep inside the hip doing this rotation for you. It's certainly not a big muscle move. These internal rotators are not our big prime movers. There are little marathon runner muscles. They need endurance, and they are stabilizers. So they need more reps to get to them, and then we want to build endurance in them. Last one. And then balance out with the squeeze. Knees are stacked, feet are stacked, squeeze. Trying to relax. I always have to think, relax my bottom leg and just push down with my top leg. Push. And feel the things on the midline of this right side turn on. Okay, so let's switch to the other side. Don't usually like to just jump to the other side because we feel that bottom hip now will be on fire. So let's do a quick tweener exercise on your back, ball between your knees. Roll the hips up gently, ribs hug down. Remember that rib to hip connection. And let's squeeze, squeeze, squeeze on that ball. We're working a lot of deep outer hip. So now let's work some inner thigh. Of course, the hips stay level. Rib to hip connection stays strong. Buns engaged, and think of the inner thighs. I like to just put mental energy into the muscles we're trying to target. Makes a big difference. Think of an even push from each knee. Let's go 3 more. And roll down. So now let's go to the other side. Got your pillow for your head to make sure your spine is in alignment. We're never arching up to bend the spine in any funny direction. Got my timer. All right, so notice how so quickly I want to arch into my back or bend into my back. So create that length in the waistline. It's hugged. Knees and feet are stacked. I check that my heels are in line with my rear. And I'm just going to start opening up. I'll get the timer going. I don't touch on the way down because I want to keep building endurance. It's different for the internal rotation because I'm really trying to feel a sensation that we're not used to feeling. So I let it relax so that my outer hip isn't getting in the way. So you can keep the feet together or you can peel the toes away to get a little more range of motion. This is my less tight piriformis, so I don't know if you can, if you're watching me, you're probably seeing that my left knee rises higher than my right. Waistline is hugged. I just caught the ribs flaring. And want to get a nice burn. You can add the pulses to the first round if you want. I saved them for second round last time. But we want to get a nice burn in that outer hip. And again, reps are so individual if you do these on your own. You rest when you feel that nice burn for the last 3 to 5 reps. If you start to feel your back, you've done too many. And now internal. So the knees stay together. I'm taking my femur and rotating it towards the ground. That lifts my heel up. Thinking of it coming from deep within that hip. If you hear baby noises in the background, that would be my little one. So you can see this stripe here that lays really, it's the femur rotating. It's not led by the foot. It's within the hip socket. And it might take a while. Tap the foot, rotate, tap the feet, rotate, to feel that lengthening. Or that strange sensation, like something different's happening in your hip. It's a weird kind of burn. It's just different. And note which hip is stronger, which hip is tighter. Just note the differences in your body. It really helps guide your exercise from here on out. Oh, now I'm starting to get it. That's great. Okay, boy, that's a nice weird feeling. And then place the ball between your knees, or no ball needed, just squeeze or pillow. I got to relax my right foot and just push down with my left. And sometimes I'll just touch the muscle group I'm trying to fire. So I'm feeling just a very gentle contraction of that left inner thigh as I push down. Again, everything is with pelvic stable. There's my boy. Just to give a break to the outer hip so we can really get it the next time. And balance out the muscles. Okay, so let's go back. So, opening up again. Again, the toes and heels can stay together, or you keep the heels together and peel the toes open. All of this is done, and I like the hand cue on the hip, keeping that hip sturdy. I tend to repeat cues and give a lot of cues. Just focus on one, maybe two cues. But pelvis sturdy is pretty key, so that's a foundational one. We're going to keep the pelvis sturdy. You only go as far as you can keep that pelvis sturdy. And then think about, again, that femur, that upper leg, rotating within the hip socket. That's doing the work. That's what's raising and lowering the leg, rotating it open and rotating it back down. It's not the back. We certainly don't want the back to do it. So think of inside that pelvis is where the movement happens. I like to think of a ball of rubber bands as being that ball and socket, that ball inside the socket, and those are all those little, the rubber bands are all those little muscles. We're trying to work the little muscles like a ball of rubber bands. Okay, open and hold at the top. Here we go with our pulses. So again, especially when it gets hard, I want you to slow it down. Not to slow motion, but to where it's smooth and controlled movement, that you're not pushing from the wrong places, because once we start to rush it, once we start to get fatigued, if we're not really focusing, breathing, making it therapeutic for our body, we're just going to jump into our stress muscles, the ones that ache us the most or bother us the most or cause us the most problems. So once we start to rush through it, boom, there's the back. There are the muscles that pull on the knee. There is the neck, all of our chronic issue muscles. So really slow it down, breathe through it. Think about it coming from that ball of rubber bands deep inside that hip socket. Oh, and doesn't that feel good? And all of this lying down, isn't that great? So again, as many as you need to get a nice burning 3 to 5 reps at the end. 2, 1, and then internally rotate. There's a different sensation. Now, can you feel that area stretching? So as you internally rotate, we're actually lengthening that piriformis. Now note with any of these exercises, if it causes you pain, joint pain, that's a sign not to do it. Or if you can't adjust it with form, maybe there's something else going on. It could be several things. Maybe something's just way too tight to allow you to use the right muscles, or maybe there's a joint issue that needs to be addressed. And you need to see your doctor or orthopedic. So note that these exercises should be pain-free. Burning is a different thing. I like a good burn. Muscle burn is okay. Joint pain is not okay. And certainly we don't want to feel it in the back of the knees or the neck even. Okay, and then our final ball between the knees and squeeze down. Oh, that's kind of like the therapeutic reset after all of that outer hip work. Feeling that inner thigh squeeze down, trying to relax the bottom leg that wants to push up. There it is. Now I feel like I'm able to really isolate that. And again, check the neck every now and then. I catch myself bringing my neck forward. We really want to keep a nice neutral spine all in the same line. We spend enough time here with our heads forward, stressing our necks. So try to relax the rest of the body in as much of a good posture as you can. 2 more. That feels really good. And then we'll finish off with our bridge, squeezing the ball. Ball between the knees. Never a pillow under your head when you do bridges, because we don't want it to be in this position when your head is up. We want it to be down on the ground. Okay, roll the hips up, ribs are hugged down, and squeeze in. So you're maintaining level hips, squeezing in on that ball or pillow or towel rolled up. Or baby toy. You see that I have to improvise sometimes too. Whatever you have. Squeezing, feeling an even squeeze from each side, even though the hips are a little in a different state right now. We just isolated the left. Squeeze, squeeze. Feel those abs turn on to support you, those buns to hold you, and those inner thighs hugging together. Let's just do 5 more. 4, 3, evenly from both knees. 1, roll down.